but for the elitism in terms of attracting clients, what would you suggest to people who want to start working with people, recording bands, recording artists who don't have a U87 and a Neve preamp? And basically can't, because it's bragging rights, isn't it?
I think what you've got to do is you've got to build a portfolio first. Your work will always be the thing that beats elitism, right? So, for example, in my YouTube stuff, I use science.
Love that sentiment.
So I use science, right? That's a way of getting past elitism, okay? That's my work.
I think that's your next t-shirt slogan.
So like for my stuff, it's the work that I put in the science, right? That's my way of getting rimmed it. For somebody...
Science will beat elitism.
Yes. But in terms of trying to get a band, so again, you could be like have a very kind of a cheaper setup, as we were to say. So again, if you had the Evo 16, you had just like a DAW with digital plugins, and you were basically just kind of a very simple setup, microphone setups. There's nothing stopping you from still getting a fantastic performance, right? And this is the thing. You could easily spend all that money on that gear. And you could be like, yes, I've got all the Neve pre's, API pre's, I've got all these fancy converters, I've got U87s, I've got blah, 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 blah. However, if you are not a very good producer and you can't get the best performance out of the artist, now here's a very good, to me, what beats this whole argument is, you could have all the best gear in the world, especially microphones, but you might not have a Scooby where to place them, right? And I've heard this Warren say this, and Mark Daniel Nelson and other engineers say it. Like a U47 is only as good as the person that you put it in front of. A U47 is only good on a drum kit in regards to where you place it in the room.
Yeah.
It's the exact same with drums. It's like we think about like a 57, right? You could sit there and go, oh yes, I'll put a U87 on a snare drum. And some guy with a bit of savvy would go, no, I'll put a 57 on the snare drum. Why? I'll use the U87 for my room mic. To me, experience will always beat out gear. Just because you have expensive gear doesn't mean that somebody can, one, get a better performance out of the artist, and two, produce a better end result. That's why you always let your end result be what sells you, not the gear. So if a band comes to you and they're like, oh, well, you've got such and such, and they've got such and such, the first thing I would say is, you know what? Here's the last 20 songs that I made in the past couple of years. What do you think of those songs? They sound amazing. That's how you're going to sound. Have you heard what kind of the end result they've got, what kind of songs they've done? Yeah, he's worked with 2 or 3 artists in the past year. What did you think of the end result? Yeah, Sim's all right. Okay, Sim's all right. Does mine sound all right? Yeah, yours sound all right. Right, okay then. So it's either going to come down to one or two things. 1, do you prefer my end result? Or 2, price. Right, if it's price, you can't deal with price. But in the end, if you're the engineer that's got like the less expensive gear, you probably are going to be a little bit less expensive because a lot of people charge more because of the investment that they've already put in.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's many avenues. But then the thing is, the elitism kicks in. So as you said earlier, a guy that's more expensive will play down the cheaper engineers. Okay, there's a difference when we talk about Fiverr and stuff like that. There's a difference between maybe charging 300 quid for a mix
and charging 3 quid for a mix.
There's a big difference, right? There's a big difference. You get what you pay for. But in terms of like honest, hardworking people slugging it out, yeah, it's not about the gear. It's about the end result, and it's about the skill and the experience of the engineer. And let's put it back to your live sound business, for example. In the last episode, we were speaking about your setup, and you were saying, look, I could upgrade, but it would be like 30 grand or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
So if you were looking for gigs, you had the guy with the 30 grand setup and you with the 5 grand setup, right? If they were to book you, you're not going to sound any worse than the guy that's got the 30 grand setup, are you? Because in the end, you've got the experience to know how to get a good gig. You've done so many good gigs in the past. Think about it, like how many gigs have you done this year, for example? Top of your head.
Well, it was a slow start, I'll be honest, with, coming out of COVID and stuff over Christmas. But I mean, I'm typically gigging 3 or 4 days a week at the moment, and I can afford to, I could do more. Like literally at the moment, I could be doing corporate work every day. I don't want to do it, so I am just doing the gigs I want to do, which fortunately I'm in a position where they pay enough that I can do that, and I can pick and choose and still make good money. That's the perk of the live sound business.
So in the end, right, it's your work, right? It's your previous work, right, that's getting the work. Obviously, it's word of mouth. I mean, would you say a lot of your work that you get most of the year is, say, word of mouth, is a referral from another person? Oh, such an Ed did such and such work for us, and it's kind of like
It's
word of word.
it's all word of mouth. I've never needed a GCSE or an A level, which are our school exams in the UK. I have never needed my degree. I mean, for sound, I've never needed to audition. For drums, yeah, you know, as an instrumentalist, you sometimes have to audition, but you know, it's all who I know, and because I've done it for so long now, I know tons of people. And then it's Facebook as well. It's, you know, people tag me in posts for sound jobs, and then I might, you know, they might hook me up in a Facebook message with them, which has literally happened today. It happens weekly. But the thing with the live sound thing is, compared to the studio sound that we do as well, is live sound is about reputation. It is about who's been on a gig. You know, I've got an 8-piece band on Saturday. There might be a dep musician in that band that I haven't worked with before who works in another band, and he does another 8-piece band, and they need a sound engineer on a gig, and then I might be free. And that's literally how it spirals. But
it's not based on your, like, the drum kit you have. It's not based on the drumsticks you have. It's not based on your live sim system. It's based on the quality of your work.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, to an extent, like, okay, so if I turned up to do an 8-piece band with a, you know, an old, let me not put a brand in, but a cheap analog mixing desk and a, you know, set of alto speakers, I will happily name and shame alto. I think they're terrible speakers. Okay, it'll do the job, potentially, but I'm not going to be able to send 8 to 12 musicians stereo in-ear monitor mixers. I'm probably not, if that's what I've invested my money in, going to turn up with good quality radio microphones. I might get, like, you know, some cheap Amazon drum mics, you know, that are rubbish and sound rubbish. It's not the same level as the high-end Sennheiser stuff I've got. So, yeah, in terms of one using a cheap setup or another, there is a threshold. However, a lot of guys I work with have similar PA systems. Some of them have better ones. Some of them have not so good ones. It doesn't matter. Everyone works. And the reason they work is they turn up, they're good with the clients, and this applies to studio work as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Easy to get on with. They stay calm under pressure. They're presentable. They don't smell. You know, there's nothing worse than working on stage with someone who has raging BO. It's like, seriously, if it's a biological problem, please go to the doctor. But, you know, if not, just have the courtesy and the respect for other people to wear deodorant. Something as simple as that, you know, basically being easy to work with the clients, good with the clients, respectable, and executing a good job and working quickly and delivering a good result under pressure is why I work fast. You know, that's why I'm busy as a live sound engineer. And all those things can be transferred into the studio as well. Now, it does help if you have better gear. Like, you know, I'm very confident in the equipment I use live. And as I'm learning all this analog gear, I will be very confident in it in the studio, just as I am with the Apollo stuff, because I've owned it for numerous years now. So the better equipment does help. And this goes back...
But you know how to use it, and that's the most important. You've learned how to use it.
Exactly.
You've honed your craft.
Yeah. Now, this goes back to a question I think we've kind of dabbled with in a few different episodes, which is and this ties in nicely with elitism. And we asked Warren this, and if you want to hear his answer, listen to, I think it's episode 7.